Welcome into the first episode of the Sky Pod. I'm your host, Skyler Brooks Blaine, and it has been a long time coming getting to this point where I'm in front of the camera talking to you. A little bit about me. I grew up in a town on the southwest side of Florida called Punta Gorda. Was probably one of the biggest fuck ups you could ever meet in your life in my adolescence. I had no direction, no self discipline whatsoever, and I was just trying to have a good time. After having a good time down there for 21 years of my life, I decided it was time for a change and I enlisted in the United States Army as a cavalry scout. I spent 7 years in the Army, was stationed overseas in Germany, and was stationed at Fort Stewart, 3ID. And that was the biggest aspect in terms of character development I've ever had in my entire adult life, in terms of values, confidence, being around all walks of life, all coming together to build camaraderie and build something bigger than yourself. And you can ask any veteran walking the streets, when you get out of the Army, it's so hard to get that dopamine release, or it's so hard to find that purpose, because some can argue that serving your country and defending your country is the highest calling for a man. I mean, I'm not speaking for everybody. I'm not saying that as an absolute objective fact, but I can tell you that it is something that you will always take with you for the rest of your life. It becomes a part of you. I also fell in love. At 21 years old, I fell in love, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. I was married for 8 years, had amazing memories. Back to the Army. I got out of the Army in 2022, and I decided, you know what? I want to keep pushing this. I want to keep on doing different experiences, different things. So I jumped straight into school. And then from school, I decided I wanted to chase my dream, which was becoming a sportscaster. I've always loved growing up around sports. I love sports in and out. I can talk your ear off for days, whether it's analytics, storylines, debates, you name it, I got it. Kids growing up at my age were watching Cartoon Network and Boomerang, and I woke up and I had to listen to Stuart Scott and Dan Patrick in the morning. And I'm going to tell you right now, as a kid, that used to piss me off. But then as you grow into it, you wake up in the morning and then you're sitting down waiting to get taken to school, and you're watching ESPN, you're watching highlights, and you're watching the way these guys used to storytell. It drew you in. It made you want to be a part of that action. I've always wanted to be a part of the sports world in any capacity, whether that was an athlete or whether that was a sportscaster. Now, as an athlete, as a young kid, yikes, I was kind of chubby, wasn't very much athletic, and I wasn't task-oriented or self-disciplined enough to get better. But that was something I always wanted to be a part of. So I enrolled in the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting. During my time at the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting, I recognized now, after months of self-reflection, that I never took the time when I got out of the Army to self-reflect on who I was going to be after. And a lot of people don't understand, when you get out of the Army and you lose that purpose and you lose that identity, you go through an insane identity crisis. I mean, we're talking aggressive, because you can't take that into a different environment. When you're a soldier or you're a sergeant or you are a leader within the military, there's a certain level of confidence that you have to bring every single day. What do I mean by that? There's no room for second guessing yourself. There's no room for being in your head or doubting who you are as a person. You got to go in, make a decision, live with that decision, and be able to critically think to pivot to the next thing or the next mission or the next goal. Right, wrong, or indifferent, you got to be the example. So I try to bring that into the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting. And I don't know if any of y'all know how Orlando works, or being a confident male going into a certain environment. If you're around people who cannot understand that, or if you're around people who fear what they can't understand, dog, I'm telling you right now, you are not going to fit in. And I mean that from my perspective. I know a lot of other people in my situation, they might have been able to adapt, and that's okay. But something I recognized along the way is that during my time at the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting, I was going through one of the worst experiences of my life. I was going through a divorce, and it was miserable, dog. And I still finished, and I still got a job in spite of all of it. But a big thing that sticks with me today is that I was making decisions in fight or flight. I was making decisions based upon the outside perspective and how people were going to view me as a person. Making content, and I'm in my head making content, thinking about how is this person going to perceive this? How is this person going to do this? And then something dawned upon me in the past 2 months. I don't give a fuck. And I know that's harsh, and I know that can be aggressive, but I don't. And here's why. Why would you ever change who you are or allow other people to shrink you down to a version they can stand? And what do I mean by that? Just because a person doesn't understand you, or just because a person can't fathom how you got to who you are and who you are, does not make you a bad person. And I know veterans who have still suffered this to this day, man. Dudes in my position who've gotten divorced, their wife has decided, hey, this ain't for me anymore, or been in an environment where they're like, well, your communication style is too aggressive and you need to backpedal and you need to change this and you need to change that. But I'll say this confidently. I will never take advice from a person whose life I do not want, period. And another thing, confidence to an unconfident mind is always going to be arrogance. It is always going to be looked at as something to be shit on. And it's ridiculous, quite frankly, because instead of learning to understand, growing to understand that person, and instead of learning to bring them in or trying to work with them, now we're just going to cancel them. Or now we're just going to shit on him when his back's turned. And that's something I can confidently say I had to go through. And then I took a job to go be a news reporter out in Minnesota. And I was not ready for that opportunity. Wasn't. I can confidently say that to you right now. Was not ready for that opportunity. Maybe if I would have took some time to myself and recognized what was going wrong with me internally, maybe I could have been right for that opportunity. And I felt like I did a good job for the time period that I was there. But ultimately, I wasn't ready for it. But also, too, I'm not ashamed to admit it, the fact that I'm not going to be the guy that's going to sit in front of the field and, yeah, this guy is out here doing this and that, and I'm over here doing this and this. Never going to be that guy. And it took me a while to get comfortable with that. Really did. But for me to sell who I am as a person, and for me to be able to come out here and be who I am, I need to be who I am. And I'm proud of who I am. I am a veteran of the United States Army. I have an aggressive communication style. I can be outwardly obnoxious to a certain extent. But here's the plot twist, dog. That doesn't make me a bad person. That doesn't make me arrogant. That doesn't make me whatever you want to say about a veteran or whatever you want to say about a person who's not the same as other people walking. It just makes me me. It makes me unique. And I'm proud of it, dog. So if you don't like it, instead of canceling it or instead of shitting on it, you don't got to deal with it. So I left Minnesota because I wasn't ready for that opportunity. I needed to go fix what was wrong with me. So I left. I came back home. And then I learned something. During my time of healing, or during my time when I was down and in my head, constantly overthinking every aspect of my life, that's when people are going to come and manipulate you, dog. I promise you. They will come into your life. Well, you got to fix this, and you got to do this, and you're doing this wrong, and you're doing this. And then you have to take a step back and go, bro, I don't need that validation. I've learned this as a man, and I hope other guys who've been in my situation that hopefully I can help. You don't need validation from anybody. If you can pay your bills, if you could take care of your health, your mental and your physical, and you can wake up in the morning and try every day, Nobody's better than you, dog. Nobody. And if that means listening more than you talk, then fine. But don't allow someone to come into your life who maybe hasn't done the things that you've done or can't understand who you are and try to shit on your entire being. That's ridiculous. That is blasphemy. People back at home, I went back at home, and then all of a sudden my failures are being amplified to a 10. Amplified. I always say this. You can read it in the Bible. Non-dreamers will kill dreamers. And another thing is, there are people who take action and then other people who talk about people who take action. You can call it what you want to call it. I always want to be in the sports industry, but then I recognize, hey, I need to figure out who I'm going to be in front of the camera. I need to figure out who I want to be and how I'm going to market myself. I can't market myself in a way that's not me, because if I try to do that, and then when I go to branch off and then start being me, I just gave you false advertisement, dog. I gave you the PC version of Skyler, but in reality, I'm just this shit-talking mother effer. And I want to be true to that and be able to market that. And they're all, like, in the wild, wild west of content creation, where you're not in front of a news station or you're not having somebody control the content that you have, you can authentically be yourself. Back in school, they were like, Skyler, I think you're holding back. I think you're not giving us all you can got. It's like, yeah, dog, I'm not giving you all I got. Because if I open my mouth, you're going to kick me the fuck out. Kick me right the fuck out. Because that's not who I am. And it took me a while to get to that point of being okay with that. And I think ultimately, my calling now might be different. I still want to talk about sports. And in this podcast, I'm going to have sports topics. But ultimately, for me to truly be who I am, I want to help guys who've been in my situation, guys who have been alienated, guys who have felt insecure about who they are, what they've done. There's no shame in my game, in the mistakes that I've made and the opportunities that I've taken. There's no shame in my game. I was back at home working at a bar. And it was the biggest eye-opener ever, because I felt like I was on top of the mountain chasing the carrot. And then I fell off the mountain. And then you go back home and you recognize, bro, misery loves company, dog. I went back at home and I can honestly say I went to work and I went to the gym and I saved money. And then this. And then this.
Well, he left Minnesota. He quit. He couldn't hack it.
Or,
he got a divorce and he must not be a good guy. He must be a pretty bad guy,
And it's just like, dog, have you ever tried something in your life and it didn't work out? Have you ever done something in your life that you thought you could do, but then it turned out it just wasn't for you? And you're going to shit on that, dog? Make that make sense. Oh, that person tried, and now we're going to shit on him because he didn't get the result that he thought he would get. Okay, as you're sitting at home, allowing other people to dictate who you're going to be. I'll never give a fuck about what other people have to say about me, ever. That is a waste of energy. That is something I cannot actively control. As long as I have good intentions, if I have good morals, and I have a high moral code, and I try my best in every day, the right people will come around me. If you don't like me for being me, then that's my fucking answer, dog. Have my answer. I have it, and I'm okay with it. I wish you no ill will. Go do what you got to do, and I hope you get the rest, the most out of life that you want. But I'm not going to live for the perspectives of other people. I never have and never will. I don't care about the shared perspective. Why would you ever care about the shared perspective? It's going to hold you back and confine you into a version of yourself that isn't your full potential. I want to reach my full potential. How am I going to get there? I don't know. But I'm damn sure going to try. I'm damn sure going to give it my all. I'm damn sure going to put as much content out in the next year that I can and be able to market myself to where I feel like, hey, this is me and this is what I want to do and this is how I'm going to do it. Not because, well, you got to go do this and that. And also, you should try doing this and that and do this and this. It's like, dog, no. It's not who I am. Period. Wish you well. But get the fuck out my face, kid. You know? Get out my face. And honestly, I'm at peace with my time at school. Could I have done things better? 100%. And I think ultimately, what I was going through in my life was the most heart-wrenching, character-destroying moments you'll ever go through. Any man who's ever been through a divorce, or you just think, man, I'm going to be with this person for the rest of my life. And then one day you wake up and it's gone. That's tough, man. And for people to be like, no, man, just get over it. Or, yo, bro, like, we get it, man. Like, no one gives a shit. No one gives a shit. Like, divorce happens every day. And I got a divorce and I was fine. Yeah, dog, I guess you weren't in love. Or I guess you weren't invested. Or I guess it was temporary for you. That shook me to my core, man. Anyone that's been around, my life during those times, I was invested. And then a big thing that I've recognized now in my road to recovery, to getting to where I need to be, is that people don't abandon the people they love. They abandon the people they use. And that's just what it is. And that's the way I feel about it. And there's always two sides to every story. And there's always a different perspective to be looked at. But I think ultimately I can lay my head down at night and know I tried my best as a husband, as a student, and as a soldier. And that's all you can do. And you're not going to fit into every environment. It's not plug and play where you're able to go each and every place and you'll be okay. But I'll tell you this, don't change for your environment. If you're not appreciated in a spot, then guess what, bro? It might not be you. Sad to say, if people can't see or value what you have to bring to the table or see your worth, get the fuck out of there, kid. Get out of there. Go somewhere different. Be around people that see what you're gonna become or see the potential in you. Don't be around people that want to amplify what you're not doing or always shitting on other people or your topic of discussion is how other people are living their lives. If that's the way you want to live, fine. But it ain't me. What can we be doing better? How can we improve? What are certain things in your life that are worth working on? Not what the fuck Stacy's doing up the road. Or man, like this person, must have felt really embarrassed for this. I don't give a shit. You're shitting on people for existing. Think about that. Every human being has their flaws. So for you to go and try to maliciously, or maybe not maliciously, but you just project your own misery and you try to go change the perspective of how other people view people, that is a disgusting character trait. Disgusting. And I'll never co-align with that. And I'm proud of that. And ultimately, now, how am I going to move forward? How am I going to create content that speaks to my target audience? I want to bring people that genuinely like my personality. My life's about banter, dog. I could sit here and have conversation for days. What are we going to talk about? And that banter and that contagious attitude, that's something that I want to be remembered for. I don't want to be remembered for, this package that I did about such and such with who and who or whatever. That ain't me. And I'm okay with it. And if that's you, fine, I salute it, but it ain't me. And ultimately, that's how I got to here. To this moment right now is I'm going to push this till the fucking wheels fall off. And if it doesn't work out and it's not what it's supposed to be, then I'll pivot and I'll do something different. But I promise you this, I'm going to be me. And I like that. I'm okay with that. And that's all that matters.